This is James Mathers for the Digital Cinema Society at 2019 Cine Gear Expo. I'm here with my friend Geoff Boyle, who's come all the way from Europe. And Geoff, I know you're always on top of the technology trends. You seen anything interesting this year?
There's not a terrible lot. There's a lot of Me Too lights here.
Huh?
Everyone's got the same lights, and more the same, more the same, more. I'm going to pass out. There are some interesting things in that the LEDs are getting better spectrum, and that's really exciting because I hate LEDs with skin tones generally. They're just horrible.
They keep mixing more and more LEDs
to get
RGB, WWW, whatever.
Exactly. Yellow, magenta, cyan. We'll get there somehow. They're not good on skin tone.
But they're getting
generally.
better and better.
But they are getting better and better, and that's the whole point. That, in another year, 2 years, I might start using them for photographing faces. But until then, no, they're just not good for faces.
And it's also a problem if you mix different brands because they all have a different way of making the color.
Absolutely. Different spikes in different places. I like Frida's approach at Kineflow of profiling the cameras where the spikes are in those and then alter the output of the light to match the peaks and troughs of the camera. That was a great conversation with him. I don't think he's actually done it, but he certainly profiled them all. But the thing that really stands out for me is all the, I'm trying to find a polite way of saying it, the traditional glass that's appearing.
You've been doing a lot of testing with glass
lately. I've been
lately.
doing a lot of testing. We've published 30 of the 50mm lens tests. We did full frame coverage. But we actually did over 50 and didn't publish the others. Some of them were for laughs, where we took old stills lenses, which we bought in junk shops, and put them up. And,
a vintage
if
look.
you want the vintage look, then I would suggest you go to a camera rummage sale and you get some 1960s lenses, because they've got that funky look. And some of them are really cool. You're getting 58mm Helios from the 60s. You want that funky look, you've certainly got it there. So we try to find a way to define the different lenses. You look at lens after lens after lens, and you just glaze over. So there's two things that came out of it. One, which glass is used by a lot of people to make lenses, because they have a distinctive characteristic that appears. And the other is how you define whether you like a lens or not. And we decided to go back to college days and use what guys used to use to describe women, and women used it to describe men, so it's, it's not sexist.
Oh, that's how you're going to get me in trouble.
Yeah, it's shag, marry, kill.
Oh, jeez.
And so we defined the lenses by shag, marry, or kill. And there was one that was just an outright kill. Nobody, was just, oh, God, no, never. That is just so bad. And there are others that were a great one-night stand. You looked at it and went, wow, that's really interesting for once, but it's not something
Nothing you want to own and use on every project.
Exactly. And there were a very few that actually came in the marry category. And we then had to break that down into price. So if you do it regardless of price, then marry is dead simple. In alphabetical order, it's Ari Cook Leica, and that's it. If you go down in the price bracket, then the Sigmas and the Vistas and the Schneiders, great.
And there's really a pretty small margin for all the money difference.
Well,
I've
on the
noticed.
other hand, we put the new Lights Prime up, which is 30 grand. Now, some lenses you put up and go, what? It's a lens that you, as I say, you can buy in a junk shop for $50, or you can buy rehoused for $3,500, $5,000. And you kind of go, that's a bit dodgy on pricing. And so you put the lights up at 30 grand, you expect it to be stellar. Thing is, it was.
Okay.
And there was just no question. That lens is amazing.
Yeah. And now they have zooms.
Yeah.
Yep.
We only had the 50. We put it on, we're looking at the monitor and just went, what the? Wow. That is just outstanding. But one thing we found was there was one particular lens that And I didn't cut the section out when I did the video. I should have done, where I saw something, I started to rock the focus backwards and forwards because it was like, what? And I should have taken that section out. Very few people have picked up on it. But so what I did was I've run LED fairy lights from 0.5 meter away from the lens to 7 meters, 6 meters. Because I'd seen the ARRI demos of the Signature where they have the LED light in front and behind. And I always went, yeah, but why is it only 1 meter behind? What happens further back? You're hiding something. Well, ARRI weren't, but others were. And there's a point with a certain lens where when you get to 5 meters back, the highlights start to change color. And they flip. There's a sudden flip from magenta to green, or when they've been recoated, sometimes it's a red, green, but it's a definite. So this was on a lens that was a new original lens. We didn't know what it was. But it's like, okay, I've seen that somewhere before. Just put up, yeah, that does it as well. And put that one up as well. That does it as well. You got stills lenses with you. And we got out the stills version of it. Now, it does exactly the same. So there are a lot of lenses out there that are basically rebuilt Canon FL. And, you know, you can get second-hand Canon FLs at very reasonable prices, or you can pay a fortune for them rebuilt, with the people not admitting that that's what they're doing. It's an original new lens. Well, actually, it's not. And you can very clearly see it because they have that characteristic. Now, Canon admit that their cinema lenses are based on that glass, and they have that characteristic. You can see it, you know, on the CNEs, on the Samiri. It's fine. But others say they're original lenses, and they're not. And that was what was really fascinating for me. And that then leads on to, well, let's look at, and then look, and one was a real shocker, which I'm not talking about, because I can't afford the lawyers. Let's say there's a lot of cosmetic surgery involved on the housings, but nothing on the optics. You know, and that's, I think, going to cause a company problems in the future. So it was eye-opening, actually. It reinforced my prejudices, my personal favourites, but I understood much more clearly why. And it's really interesting looking at the way the highlights change, and obviously phase shape for me is really important, but the things like the Baltar, 50mm Baltar, wide open is one of those ones you go, wow, yeah, it's outstanding.
And how many decades old is it?
Yeah. However, you stop it down and it's like, you know, not that bothered about that. And yeah, that wide open look is great for one or two jobs, but it's not something you're going to want to live with. And I think people are buying lenses because they get, you know, kind of, wow, that's great, and without thinking about what the long-term implications are. So one of the ones that stood out for me didn't stand out when we shot. It's the White Point rebuild of the Hasselblad, 55, 56mm. We did the tests. It's like, yeah, you know, it's all right. Nothing wrong with it, nothing good about it. But the more I watched it played back on a 4K monitor as I'm putting the whole thing together, the more I thought, actually, there's nothing wrong with it. And that's the big thing about it. There's nothing wrong with it. It hasn't got anything that makes it jump off the screen. But my God, if pack shots where the client's obsessed with how their product looks, brilliant.
Clean,
lens.
yep.
Clean, accurate, just, yeah.
If people want to see this online, where can they find it? Your tests.
CMLtests.net, cinematography.net, or you can go direct to my Vimeo, Geoff.Boyle. You know, it's all there.
It's so great what you've done with CML and all the knowledge that you share on a continuing
Well,
basis.
it's interesting. I mean, what's been really interesting is this year I tried to put up some lighting lessons using some German software that will actually generate, it takes into account the size of the space and bounces the light around and so on. And I put up simple lighting
Virtual
setups.
lighting.
Yeah. and showed lighting setups and showing how to do it, distances, focal lengths, and so on. It generates the right depth of field for the lens you're using as well. And that was fascinating. It started to fall apart when I tried to reproduce scenes from movies I'd shot, because where it copes with a talking head interview or a portrait or whatever, when you start to do something that has huge reflectors and lots of them, it then starts to go, oh God, I can't cope with this calculation, I'm going to die.
And all the movement and everything. Yeah.
But it's
It's a good start.
It's a good start, and it's interesting. I've had a lot of people email me about it saying, thank you for really basic, clear, you can do this with one light and some poly.
Well, we thank you for all you do for the industry. It's
Thank
appreciated. Thanks for
you
coming in today.
DCS. Cheers.
Keep your voice.
Yeah.